How do you approach this last practice and this last game?
Same way we always have. Same way we did down in Florida. So it's you want to win hockey games. You feel better when you win than when you lose. That's for sure, regardless of the circumstance. So practice. We wanted to compete today, work on the power play a little bit, get the guys back out on the ice and get ready for tomorrow.
A couple awards today. Panarin Team MVP and Carrick was voted as the Players' Player. Just thoughts on those guys and why they were deserving of those.
I think Panarin probably speaks for itself. It's just a player that is. He you can see it in the way he plays the game that the impact that he has on the ice is important to this team. With regard to Sammy, it's that's couldn't have been to a better guy, a better person, and the way he carries himself and handles himself in the locker room, what he does for the team out on the ice. He plays a physical game. He would go in and stick up for any one of his teammates in a split second. Plays hard consistently, and so it's both of those are easy to see why they would get those awards.
March, the team record obviously wasn't great in March, and you guys, that's when you fade from the race a bit there. But Panarin, I think for like a 20-game stretch, led the NHL in points.
Yeah.
So just the way that he was trying to will the team to the finish line there, what can
you say? You look at last year too. He put up his best year last year, and the amount of goals he scored last year, he came back and second most goals he's ever scored. And, like you said, down the stretch when the games were on the line and the season's on the line, he certainly is. He's out trying to be that impact for our team to push us across the line. So, good on him.
Is it hard to push through during a time like this? And what have your emotions been over the past few days?
Yeah, nobody wants to be here. So it's it is what it is. This is where we're at. This is the reality of it. So, like I said, like I answered earlier, your choices are pretty limited. You either don't put in the effort and don't play well and lose the game and feel lousy about it, or you go down in Florida like we did and you play hard, you win a game, and it doesn't have the meaning that you want it to, but there's still only two roads that you can go down, so we need to choose the right road.
I know that you've been through this many times in your career, but do you start thinking about what's next after this, or do you wait till tomorrow?
I right now just focusing on the game and getting ready for that.
The way that Lafreniere's season has gone, just a lot of goals at the start, not a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Just what do you hope he sort of learned from navigating?
Yeah,
a season like that?
it's about consistency and about you mentioned Panarin and that consistency, and then when the coming down the stretch too. And I think there's always ups and downs for players, and so Laf has that same opportunity to have a big impact in the game, and he's capable of that. And so, young player, and I think there's always going to be ups and downs, from year to year or even inside of a year. And so, you do learn from it. You try to push forward from that.
Did you ever notice it weighing on him a little bit more than, maybe earlier in the season as it went on?
Yeah, I didn't really notice him wearing it. Probably be a better question for him.
Along the same lines with Keandre, a lot's been expected of him up and down season. Where do you feel like, how do you feel about what he did this year?
I feel like he plays hard. He plays against the toughest players, like him and Borgie. They get tough matchups. They get, defensive zone starts against the best players on the opposition. That's not, I think sometimes you take that for granted that you're just taking minutes out there, and it becomes different when you start playing against, the Florida's top line or Tampa's top line. It becomes a more difficult task, and I think that's a learning process as well, where you're really heavy and you're that matchup pair and matchup D, and so I think there's been a lot of positives inside of it, and so there's things that he can take from that and learn as well.